Happy Red Kingdom Friday, and it's a morning edition. We talk OTA storylines and get you ready for the weekend here on Gridiron Gambit.
Welcome, Chiefs Kingdom. Thanks for tuning in to this Red Kingdom media production, bringing you raw, authentic Chiefs coverage. Make sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date on your team. Now sit back and enjoy the show.
Let's work. Hey.
Welcome in once again, as I said before, this Red Kingdom Friday edition of Gridiron Gambit. We are your co-hosts for today, Clinton and Jordan. We're coming at you early because, we got a lapse in our schedule. Jordan's busy lifestyle, he's not usually on for, when the quote normal people be doing podcasts. So I said, hey, you know what? I got an opening on Friday mornings. Let's set it up. So, hey, Jordan, welcome in. Hopefully your roommate has sit down since we're doing a podcast. But welcome in and let the people know how your day's been.
My day's going pretty good. We up bright and early. I'm still up because I had to work a couple hours ago. But other than that, we here, y'all. We about to talk some good Chiefs talk.
That's right. So I know you're excited to get on and talk to people about what you've seen the Chiefs and the latest storyline we're talking about right now are OTAs and the little things that we heard come out of there. So let's officially get in on our first topic. It is called the Missing Six. There were a lot more players than that, and Josh Simmons was not on the field, but was quoted by Andy Reid as making a comeback and looks ready to go almost. But in terms of the veterans, wide receivers Hollywood Brown and Rashee Rice, tight end Travis Kelce, and offensive linemen Ethan Driskell, Jawaan Taylor, and Trey Smith all were not present for the voluntary session of OTAs. So, Jordan, does any of these names concern you not being there right now?
The ones that I can say concerns me the most, I'd say for sure, is Rashee Rice, for one. Definitely him being off a lot during the previous season due to injury and everything. Definitely try to get his legs back in shape and everything. But I think he'll be okay for now. And also, Travis Kelce. If not, I could say the whole team pretty much. The whole 6 people that missed OTAs today. Well, not today, but the previous days. This is very important, definitely, as we consider this season our revenge tour, as I could say. Definitely since we got our, excuse my language, we got our ass whooped in the Super Bowl, belt to ass. The OTA should be very important, definitely, to get everybody back on schedule, make sure they're good and ready to go. This is very important, and with this season, this is our revenge tour.
I definitely don't disagree with you there, and I think you want to see as many of the offensive weapons practicing and kind of setting that foundation up. But I also could see, you're wanting some of this second or third year guys who are, still being. Xavier Worthy in his press conference said that they're still calling him a rookie, even though he's starting his second year. So I think they're also trying to get those guys a chance to shine, and a couple names that Chiefs fans wouldn't necessarily think are going to make an impact next year. But we'll talk about some names like those in our last segment.
Mm-hmm.
Travis Kelce not being there doesn't really concern me. According to Patrick Mahomes, he looks as ready to go and as prepared for next year, and doesn't look like this is his last year because he doesn't look like he's has a different approach to the season than he's had before. So I don't have any concern there. Dre, shout out in the chat, said that Rashee Rice was sick and I know that they say he's about ready for the start of the season because of how early into last year he got injured, that he was ready to kind of start the season off and hopefully have as hot of a start as he's had the last couple of years that he's already been here. Hollywood Brown, you could go back and forth on. Maybe you'd like to see him here, but I think with his spot as assured as Rashee Rice's, they can kind of take that extra leisure time and come back and beat their body up when Andy Reid says they are no longer voluntarily allowed to miss those. Trey Smith is the guy who's waiting on a long-term contract. Him not being there, contractually, financially, business-wise, it makes sense why he's not there and practicing right now. What does that do for him in his career? He already knows all the things he needs to know, and the right side of that offensive line is kind of secure. And when I say that, I contradict myself when I out and say, "Hey, Jawaan Taylor, you realize the Chiefs just took a tackle in the first round of the draft and signed a player that they have a lot of money invested in, that much of Chiefs Kingdom and social media communities are up in arms saying you can't have Jalen Moore sit on the bench or not play left tackle this year because of the money he's offered." If you're Jawaan Taylor right now, I think you need to be in Andy Reid's good graces and very be performing well and showing yourself out as a veteran leader that says you can't afford to get rid of me because I am that valuable. At this point, his play the last couple of years don't necessitate that as the truth. His $20 million a year contract, not looking like it's panning out for the amount of invested money the Chiefs have spent. And, he's kind of on the chopping block. And I've thrown his name out there as a guy that can not be on the team next year, and the Chiefs can kind of save money in that regard. So if the Chiefs really love Josh Simmons the way they do, and you're Jalen Moore and you're getting paid, I think it was kind of hearsay for me to say anything about that you could have, Moore and Taylor not be starting in any capacity just because of the money that you're spending. But I mean, you want the top 5 best guys. If someone is better than Jawaan Taylor right away, then I mean, that's a costly thing to sit on the bench, but I'm sorry, we don't want the same results as last year. Like, you need the best offensive lineman. And I mean, the worst thing you could do is not have a competent offensive lineman to play. If one of these guys slips to a backup and they're a really good backup, then that saves the Chiefs. We saw what it's like to have a not good backup or a player playing out of position, frankly, and trying to get the job done there. And that just doesn't work. But if you have if you have a player that you trust in that can take over that backup spot, then that does set you up for success. And at the end of the year, if the worst thing is your starter never got hurt, that's a blessing. In the NFL, everybody's constantly getting hurt in some capacity, whether or not you miss one game or an entire season. You're always missing games. Unless you're like an Iron Man or a quarterback, you just have to take some time off. And I understand that during the regular season, but right now when you don't even have pads on and you're just kind of doing some calisthenic running and watching film, I don't think this is a year that Jawaan Taylor can afford to miss out on. Trey Smith believes that he's here for the long haul and is just waiting for the contract to stay. So Jawaan Taylor knows he's on the hot seat right now, and I don't think he's taking this as seriously as maybe you'd hope for a player making that type of money, and a player that many people may still have hope that he is going to remain a starter for the Chiefs for years to come.
So, yeah, he definitely need to take it serious, like for real. Like he's just not the only one that's on the hot seat. And just looking at contract wise, Hollywood Brown is on the 1-year contract. this is the time to show, like, hey, I deserve to be on this team for sure. Like, hey, y'all go use me in the long run. I'm still young. I'm still under 30. Hey, y'all go want me on this squad for sure.
Like, and if you are on a one-term, like one-year deal, other than Trey Smith, who's a franchise tag and like has been his entire career within the organization, so it hasn't had that like other team bidding for you feeling or like a team cutting you or whatever. If you're only here for 1 year guaranteed for sure, when you want to make the most of that and try to extend that for multiple years, especially if you thought this is the ultimate landing spot, the spot that once you're here, it's your white whale. You never want to leave it. And like the championships and the culture and the organization and the head coach and the business opportunities and all those, we think would line up that this is the best place to have success. But we've had that conversation like free agency over and over and over again. When a big time player want to take a minor dip just to come here and almost assuredly win a championship or play in a Super Bowl if they've never accomplished either one of those. But it's just not what's important. Like Joe Tooney might have been okay with dropping his salary by half to stay here,
right? But because he was definitely worth it.
He would have been, but he would have been worth it at his normal dollar amount that he's getting now and the extension in Chicago. But Brett Beach saw what happened and knew that in some capacity the offensive line had to get younger in some way. Trey Smith is that happy medium where he's only coming up on the end of his rookie contract and he can still be had before he's 30, and he's never had an injury concern in the pros at all. So those are things that like are exceptions, and I think Brett Beach will reward like stability and consistency like that. But the rest of the offensive line, the left side, that's kind of the question mark. And another potential of that is our second segment, but it just keeps harping back. Like Jawaan Taylor, you would want to show yourself and like say, nope, I'm the right tackle. Every time I'm starting something, I am right here. Not sure whether or not Creed Humphrey was there, but Josh Simmons isn't there, but because he's coming back from an injury, but this team is still confident in that recovery process. So at this point, you're letting Jalen Moore get all the spotlight right there.
Right.
But we'll see how that goes. The leaders, Patrick Holmes, Chris Jones, those two are still there, seen front and center. Those are things you'd like to see.
It was good to see Kareem Hunt and Pacheco back on the field. Yes. That's good. Definitely with Pacheco. He said he's feeling good. He's loving how the team looks. And he said he's almost there 100%.
I mean, a Pacheco at 100% would be kind of the jump start the Chiefs offense needed at times.
Yep.
It was able to kind of carry the team 2 years ago. And kind of they let off the momentum off him, and then once they got to the Super Bowl against the Niners, that's when some of the passing elements and Mahomes running and stuff picked back up again. But last year we just didn't have the same Pacheco, it seemed. And then Kareem Hunt, for as good of a job he stepped up in, and the feel good story that he was, he with his older mind and body was just not going to be enough to have the same impact. And at times, a power run against a defensive line that could just keep teeing off against your quarterback over and over and over again would have done a lot to kind of push the defense back a little bit to create that spacing that Andy Reid likes to achieve. So we'll see after this year whether or not the running game is really a focal point in this offense again, or if we're truly going to lean back into the Mahomes throws it 50 times for 60 touchdowns and 6,000 yards, because that's just the nature of the NFL, despite how the defenses are shifting to playing that, and how we've said, okay, if the defense is going to play back, then just run it down their throats. The first downs are easy pickings, but maybe just the NFL and its nature and how it makes its money, and Andy Reid and how he likes to play professional football.
Right.
The passing game will always dominate the NFL, and defending it will always be the nature of the NFL as well.
Right.
But, to note, a lot of majority offensive players not at OTAs right now. It seems like majority of the defense is out there performing for their defensive coach. Even Omar Norman Lott, who at this point in time does not even have a contract signed to play for the Chiefs for the next 4 years, but is still performing and practicing with his teammates at OTAs. And I know a lot of people will maybe did or did not like that selection, but I mean, if you want to make a character statement right away that, playing football and building community is kind of your first and foremost thing, even business aside, because most of those are agent discussions. If you're still business as usual, practicing with the team you just got, because you need every second of information with them to jumpstart your career, thumbs up, kudos to you. That's impressive for me. I know a lot of people, a lot of professionals and veterans right now that aren't having that same approach. But Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, those players are still there. So shout out to you, Norman Lott, being there at OTAs when you're not even contractually obligated to be there right now.
Hey, that's just good dedication right there, and also good team chemistry. I could definitely say that.
Something about our defense, no matter who it is, we could be concerned that a particular player or name is weak, but the unit as a whole that works as all 11 guys under the Spagnuolo learning tree, it just always works out in their favor. So
most definitely,
there's some secondary and some defensive linemen that we have that are fresh juice that hopefully they can make an impact right away and spark the other guys that are already on the team.
Oh yeah,
because that's what we like. We don't necessarily need our rookies to take over and be a star like Rashee Rice was. You just got to be able to sprinkle in some magic, and your magic leads to this guy being successful over here. And, the whole machine works with you just playing your little role as the cog. So any final thoughts about the missing OTA members we saw?
Oh yeah, let me go ahead and say a little something. Hey, hopefully this is just a one-time thing. Everybody show up for the next day. Show up, show out, do the usual Chief stuff. Ain't nothing wrong with it. But definitely for the offense, you need to trim it down to a good 0. Make sure nobody misses these days at all. Like I said, this is a revenge tour. We got the Eagles early during the season, so we got to come out strong. We got to.
Facts about that. This is our revenge tour, and we'll get tested on early in the season. But we know that Andy Reid kind of primes for the beginning of seasons. But we need more of our veterans back here to, like you said, light a spark and ensure that we come in with the right mindset, that we're not taking no for an answer this year. All right. So before we move on to our next topic,
make sure to like and subscribe. Follow us on all our social media platforms at Red Kingdom Media. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Leave a like or comment so we can reply and interact with you and make you a part of the show. If you listen to us on Spotify, please rate us 5 stars so we can increase our reach in the playlist. Follow us and all our contributors on all the social media platforms: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and X. If you'd like to come on and talk Chiefs, message us so we can potentially set that up. Do you enjoy written content? Subscribe to our Substack. We have both a free and a $5 a month subscription and post on there frequently. And if you have any interest in being a contributor on the writing staff,
feel free to reach out and we'll be in touch. It would help support the brand if you would purchase our merch, like the shirt that I'm wearing currently. Set up an order for one of these or 2 or 3, and this will allow us to expand our inventory options. Thanks for being a part of this channel. And if there's any partner that's listening to this interested in sponsoring the show or any other content that we produce, please reach out. Now, back to the show.
Shout out to the couple people watching us on YouTube and X while we're live right now. You know, you are the crazies, you're the diehards. We appreciate that. You know, this is a Friday morning as we're recording. If you're listening to us on the weekend or watching us on YouTube after the fact, Friday or during the weekend, you know, you were not expecting you to be here, but just shout out to the diehard crazies that were out there giving us love, because we definitely feel it and appreciate that. So let's go ahead and move on. We've got Kingsley Switch. So Andy Reid, in his press conference on Thursday, confirmed that Kingsley Suamataia is moving to guard after what he saw in the Denver Broncos game, and that he is now in competition for the starting left guard spot. Do you think that Kingsley will win the job outright?
Oh, very interesting. We just gonna have to see day by day, because as we've seen when he was a tackle, it didn't go very well. But he's a rookie, so what do you expect? So, but at the same time, he might do better as a guard. You never know. You see how Joe Tooney did. Shout out to Joe Tooney. He held it down at the guard position. He really did. So hopefully, with Kingsley moving to guard, he can learn and basically see what Joe Tooney did and how he evolved to being a guard, to involving himself and improving his steps, his momentum and everything as a guard. So hopefully it goes well. We never know. But at this point, I can see us taking it day by day and see how it goes.
Do you think at this point right now, in your mind, if you're looking at the roster sheet, is he above Mike Caliendo? Are they like literally written in the same spot, so none's above or below the other? Where are you ranking Kingsley right now, just because of being moved to left guard?
I'll say it's in the middle. We just got to see it during OTAs, see how it works during the preseason, because I know he's definitely going to get some snaps for sure. We just got to see what type of movements he will be on, because we see as a tackle, it didn't work very well. He was getting beat off the outside a lot, but, you know, edge rushers nowadays are very fast. We can tell you that. And a lot of them run no less than a 4.7 or 4.8. But as a guard, you never know. And he's going to be, of course, he's more inside than as a tackle being more outside. So I'll say it's in the middle, just under in the middle of average. So it's going to be below. But we just got to take it day by day with Kingsley. Definitely since it's only his second year.
I can understand that. Dre thinks Caliendo should start just because he already did before. I could understand that. I could see that like going into these training camps. Just to talk on Kingsley, you know, his failure at left tackle and the short experiment and project that we saw there aside, and trying to kind of forget the fact that he was a second round pick. And how you'd say, oh, geez, a second round pick or these high picks for a guard, that's awful. Trey Smith was a sixth round. But, you know, the teams in this last year just took guards and centers in the first round also. So to have that mindset is wrong too. Value is found in any spot, and, you know, value can be found in any position. But from what I see out of Kingsley and the way he plays the body type, I think he has like some good guard potential. I think he's like decent in run. He excels in pass blocking. So if he had to be, you know, the helper to whoever is our left tackle, like whoever jumps to that side to usually double team that way, I could see that like working really well and having that really good kind of like power guard on the left side. And Trey Smith kind of does that, but Trey Smith, I feel, is a little more finesse, at least in this part of his career, when it comes to pass blocking and when and when not. And because he and Creed have had that relationship their entire in the NFL, they have that, telepathy, when to do and what kind of that way. But I could see Kingsley as a really good guard for the Chiefs. Whether or not right now he takes that starting spot, like Dre said in the chat, I think it makes sense that he's just underneath that. But I think the way that he had jumped in Andy's mind to starting left tackle before last year, and including the preseason, I could see Kingsley being in that spot right away at left guard and just seeing how it works in those first couple years, first couple games, because when it comes to left tackle versus left guard, it's obvious that left tackle being a red check mark is too lofty of a hurdle to jump over if you're the Chiefs, especially during the season. So they've kind of overpacked that position, and we'll see whether or not it helps the guard position that Kingsley moves over, or if we see that as a red circle as our weak point. But I feel like left guard is a position that you can afford to have struggle with and still overcome week to week, or guards are more able to swap in and out because you have the left and right hand side, and then you have their backup, so you can carry like at least 4 guards, and in that way. But we'll have to see. But I think Kingsley could suit well at guard. The question mark really, I think, comes around Josh Simmons and Jalen Moore, and then I also lump Jawaan Taylor into that conversation. Because if you believe that Josh Simmons is too good of a player to have sit on your bench for the 2025 NFL season, and you're willing to kind of bite a Cinderella year, or a redshirt year, because you have a 5th-year option and can still have him for 4 years. But if you want to utilize and exploit him for all 5 of the years for his rookie contract, being a first-round pick, if you wanted to start him this year, if Jawaan Taylor's position is set in stone at right tackle, Jalen Moore is a player that you brought in for free agency. You assume he's going to be left tackle, but you don't necessarily know for sure. Is it possible that the Chiefs, with those 3 players, say, okay, worst case, one of you is going to play guard, and until either Kingsley comes up or Caliendo shows himself as a competent starter, or somebody younger that outright takes the spot, maybe one of you 3 who are tackles just move to guard, because we feel that you playing in that position, like we've heard the Chiefs say it all the time, the 5 best players. Like if one of the players the Chiefs had, like Creed Humphrey, could be an amazing left tackle for all we know. I don't know, but the Chiefs see his value. He's the best player, and he plays at center, so that's where they place it. But if the Chiefs had another generational player who was also a center, they would find a spot for him in the rotation on the offensive line in some way, because if you're one of the 5 best players, they want to play you. So if Josh Simmons and Jalen Moore are 2 of the best players, and we already assume that Creed keeps his job, Trey Smith keeps his, and at this point Jawaan Taylor keeps his, does one of those guys potentially just get placed at guard for the short term or possibly long term and say, hey, I mean, this is part of being in the NFL. Josh Simmons, welcome to the NFL. You're going to be a a tackle in the future, but right now you're going to start playing at guard. Just prove your versatility and do both. Or Jalen Moore, hey, you got this big contract and you assume that's for tackle, but hey, this is the NFL. We found somebody a little better, and he's a rookie, and we're just going to put it out, but you're going to be his ultimate helper at left guard, and things work out, then, who knows, we'll have a conversation then. Because Josh Simmons is good, we'll have him for 5 years on the cheap. You could help his rookie contract go really well or really poorly, and depending on the attitude that you take there. So I know I rambled a lot just to re-ask you, but do any of those names at guard potentially pique your interest?
To be honest, all of them, to be honest, you just got to have that that availability. Because I know as an offensive lineman myself, growing up, I played center, but also I've done guard before. Never played tackle, but I was able to move spots. See, like, okay, ain't nothing wrong with this. And we all hitting no matter what. But at the same time with the Chiefs, I can see us, let's say we can go ahead and move Kingsley to guard, which we are. But with Moore, hey, we need you at right guard real quick. Don't have no problems with it. Because like I know we are tend to be more heavier in the inside than the outside. For sure about that one. So because I know this past season we were run heavy. Definitely would bring Kareem Hunt back and not having Pacheco. Kareem Hunt knew we was bigger in the inside. That's how he was getting positive gain his yards every down damn there when he was running. Because if he don't get back to the line of scrimmage, he was, I can say, guaranteed to get 4 to 5 yards. So ain't nothing wrong with any of those 3 names moving to guard, because that shows in the eyes of Andy Reid and our offense coordinator to be like, hey, I could deal with this. Ain't nothing wrong with it. They are valuable. That's what they did with Joe Tooney. He played guard for half of the season, almost half of the second half, and I was like, okay, we could deal with this. Ain't nothing wrong with it. And it helped us out in the long run, even though it kind of sucks. We got rid of Tooney, but it could definitely show us now, hey, ain't nothing wrong with moving a tackle to a guard.
For sure. And Andy Reid loves that versatility. Once a player is good enough, he'll kind of keep his spot and stay in one place. But, as we saw, once the starting left tackle went down, it was Joe Tooney, your starting left guard, that then gets moved to left tackle instead of a player that you just assumed is the backup at left tackle. So Andy Reid sees, more value in 6 or 7 of his offensive linemen than he does this player is specifically the backup at this particular position on the offensive line. I think you're dead on about that. It's the best players, and they're going to get put wherever they can shine the most. But that doesn't mean that a player that's really good at one position won't get thrust somewhere else if the needs demand it. So I needed your opinion. Are you in the camp, like some others, that Josh Simmons needs to sit just because there is no realistic spot for him because of the contracts of Jalen Moore and Jawaan Taylor?
I don't think he needs to sit. He don't. He needed to get his foot in the water just to see how our offensive line is built. Because I know he's probably watching us last season, and he was like, okay, I see some weakness on this side. It might be a strong suit on the other side. You never know. But at the same time, he needs to get some playing time for sure. I wouldn't say sit him out like as a red shirt type of year. We don't need to do that because he needs some playing time for sure. Not too much, but I'll say give him some playing time, swap him out just to get his foot in the water.
Okay. So, but you're not in the camp where if he's a starting offensive lineman for the Chiefs that he should remain a starter by the end of the year?
I mean, we just got to see. It's literally day by day, week by week. got to make limited mistakes. That's all I can say. Because if you make that one bad mistake, you gonna be taken out for sure.
Yeah, but I feel like at guard, the Chiefs are more able to stomach kind of embarrassment if it fell to that level, because they can kind of steam around that. But when one of the tackles is your weak point, that's when it feels very glaring that your offense is not getting anything done and are not in sync and in rhythm. What is your opinion if Jalen Moore or Jawaan Taylor, if either one of them was not a starting offensive lineman because another player was better at a position that player also plays and was no longer a starter, would you feel like that was a remote possibility?
Definitely could be. It could be. Well, I know with our offensive line, we got some veterans out there with some type of veterans. But with Jawaan Taylor, you never know. He could better his footwork as a tackle. And if he gets moved to a guard, he could probably still have good footwork and definitely having that heavy interior for the first three. That's always good to move him down, get some more other tackles to see what's going on, just in case we might have to move around the line during the season. Because you never know, because we always deal with injuries. Definitely with the offensive line. Even back then with the Buccaneers, when we played them in the Super Bowl, we went down 3 offensive linemen. So it's always good to have that availability, moving around. We already know Creed Humphrey's going to be the center. He could get moved to guard for sure, but he's the best center in the league. So, but it's always good to switch around the guards and tackles to see what spot they should rely on the most.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's funny because, we're all kind of up in arms about the Chiefs have too many options at left tackle.
They really do.
But I don't think people are seeing the benefit that, abundance at left tackle could mean trickle to left guard. Last little part of this before we move on, just to kind of put a bow on it. What do you think is your starting 5 offensive line at this point going into the season? And if you think it differs, who do you think Andy Reid or like Brett Beach or the media associated with Chiefs and the way that contracts are and all those biases aside, who do you think the actual team starts as their starting 5?
At this point, I'm not really sure, knowing because things could change up day by day. We might have to start Jawaan Taylor at right tackle. We never know. If not, they'll switch him over to left. Ain't no telling. Because definitely picking up Simmons for the first round can change up a lot. But you never know. Of course, Creed got the center spot. No regrets on that at all. But you never know, definitely, since we got so many options this year compared to how it was last year and all the injuries that happened last year. But now it's just a toss-up at this point.
I get that. I think most people in the organization thinks that it's Jalen Moore's left tackle spot to lose at this point. And it's Jawaan Taylor at right tackle, Trey Smith, Reid, and then what we just talked about right now. I think at this point in time, whether the Chiefs know it or not, they are pegging Kingsley at left guard now.
Left guard, yeah.
And that would mean that Josh Simmons is officially sitting is like our swing tackle, maybe comes in for an extra pass or a run block scenario, and then he gets brought into our system very slowly. But to me, if he was such a good player, then just put him at left tackle and just see what happens. And Kingsley can be his ultimate helper, like we said, or Jalen Moore earlier can be his ultimate helper. He's making the money. Creed, Humphrey, and Jawaan Taylor are already making money. Their Chiefs are trying to give Trey Smith a bunch of money. That's 3 of the 5 offensive line. You already have Jalen Moore. So that's 4. So you're already agreeing that your offensive line should be one of the most highest paid. And at one of those positions, you have to take advantage and throw a 5-year rookie at it and hope that he's really good. So I think it's almost Josh Simmons' like burden of proof that says everything you guys have said about me in passing and to media, that I look like a left tackle, my body shape, my mind, I already play well, I'm already ahead of the game. If all of these statements are true, then start pushing me to the front of the line. Let me see that actually show up film wise and camp practice snaps, all that. Let him show up that way, not just in he's a rookie, so I'm going to hype him up. I won't say anything critical about him. I want to see, like, if there's something critical, I want to hear about it. So that kind of push back those thoughts that maybe he should get as much of the time to kind of prove himself or get those, welcome to the NFL moments out of the way as soon as possible so he can be a franchise left tackle. Or if he's truly not ready physically or mentally for it, then I want some of those indicators to come out so that, we can say it's Jalen Moore's and it's Jawaan Taylor's jobs to keep at this point. Maybe we'll bring up the argument midway through the season if neither one is producing the way they should.
Right. Definitely will.
So any final thoughts about offensive linemen in the end of May going into 2025?
Y'all just need to fight strong, man, because spots could get taken just like that. Y'all got to be there for each other, for one, and make sure y'all there protecting Patrick Mahomes, of course, and just keeping that chemistry strong between y'all 5, not including the tight end of Travis Kelce. Just trusting in y'all 5 for sure.
That's right. Like, you have to be confident and you have to work as a unit. So that's what these summer months are all about. So we'll see the end results, but we're looking forward to the grind.
Right.
And we are all looking forward to the last segment that we've got for you. It is Thornton Over Skyy ? So with both Tyquan Thornton and Skyy Moore both getting spotlighted in the pressers for OTAs, whether in pictures showing off Skyy Moore's new muscly form, I guess, or Thornton talking about how fast he is and how he should be the fastest player on the Chiefs roster right now, and wanting to get to kind of prove that as well. Who of those two has a better shot at actually contributing this season for the Chiefs?
Thornton. Because I'm going to say with Skyy Moore, he's been on the hot seat for years. And a lot of people have been wanting him gone. But now I can say Thornton, since he's part of the new Chiefs offense. 6'2", came out of 2022 draft, ran a 4.28. And I can see Thornton definitely contributing more to the offense. If not, he could definitely be a big speed decoy. 6'2" with 4.2 speed. Hey. Because I'm about to say our whole wide receiver group runs no less than a 4.4. Or they run less than a 4.4. So I can see Thornton being more contributed to the offense. Skyy Moore go do his thing here and there like usual, because he really didn't get a lot of attention last season, as we've seen. Definitely since we had D-Hop, Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy balled out last season. So I can see Thornton fitting more and contributing more to the offense than Skyy Moore.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong in that thinking. And I think we should almost clarify when I say contributing this season. Are we saying, like, a couple 100 yards of actual offense, a few catches, or are we saying they are perfectly good at being a fourth receiver on a passing route that they're definitely not getting targeted at?
I'd say Thornton, he could give us a good probably 200-300 yards this year. Nothing too crazy compared to Rice or Worthy having 800 yards.
Yeah,
I mean, but at the same time, we still got Juju. We still got Hollywood Brown. We still got Worthy. We got Rice coming back.
Right. And it sounds crazy when you say
lot.
that out loud, but I think the point being made is that the offense is intended to be more explosive next year, and they intend on acquiring more yards no matter what. Like, I think the last couple of years, they'd be totally fine winning the game 14-3. But I don't think they think that is going to be enough to win a championship in their mind anymore. They kind of had their moment of letting the defense carry them, and they did, but then they went against a good offense that the Chiefs defense can no longer carry them past. And now it's back on the offense. The onus is on them to say, nope, we got to be putting up a lot of points and going down the field, and sometimes quickly, and that requires yards. So there's going to be more yards to be had, more catches to be had, because receivers need to get tapped out. Running backs need to get tapped out. Tight ends, they need a break. If you're going to be fast-paced, it's the offensive lineman and Patrick Mahomes that stays out there the whole time. Everybody else eventually gets passed in for another player who can do kind of the same job. And I think what you said about Tyquan Thornton, I think his speed kind of would allow him to be in that same realm of Xavier Worthy. Can kind of spell his snaps a little bit, can take some direct running back, running routes or wheel routes, stuff like that, really close to the line of scrimmage. Those are, 7 yards at a time or 3 yards, whatever the case. That added up over the course of a season, that can get you a couple 100 yards.
Right.
And I'm not saying I've been a Skyy Moore defender, but I've said that he's been decent enough to be able to get a couple of receptions and a couple 100 yards in a season if he was on the field more. But I don't think he's earned that trust or that ability anymore. So, that first year, he kind of set the tone without really getting anything until the Super Bowl. And, that had always been the conversation. Hey, if you're a rookie receiver for Andy Reid, that's kind of the nature of the beast. You're not going to get a bunch of production early on. You're going to flash in the moments that he gives you, a la like a Tyreek Hill, but you're just not going to be an outright star in your first year. And then Rashee Rice said, no, I'm good enough. I'm going to be a star immediately. And we've seen what that's like. And then Xavier Worthy, he had a fast start, slowed in the middle, and then was the best receiving threat Chiefs had at the end of last year. So, that mindset that we need our receivers to take their time and figure stuff out, that's kind of come and gone. And we need our weapons to produce for us now. There is no, one drop and okay, sit on that and we'll try to make you feel better the next game. It's like, if you didn't stop producing for us, we've got other weapons that can take the job away from you and are happy to do so. We just talked about it in terms of offensive linemen, but I think this year, barring the Rashee Rice and Hollywood Brown and still being kind of healthy in their ways, if those guys can remain healthy and we can officially start week 1 with all these weapons, it got lost in the fog last year about how amazing our offense looked early on, and that was without Hollywood Brown. And now our offense is even better. We have some more security around the offensive line, and the storylines around that are that it could be too good or too expensive instead of being patched together and not equipped to compete. The fact that Thornton versus Skyy Moore is a topic that we can have on this show, and it's a legitimate topic for sure. But
right,
it's definitely a first world problem to have, and debating the contributions of these players. Nico Remigio, we think, is going to be like the outright returner, and if that's the case, he could see regular seasons
last year.
He could see actual offensive snaps as well if he's kind of thrown in that spot. Because depending on the number for roster and game day and necessary numbers and whether or not a certain position has injuries and needing to bring up bodies for that, these are two players that may not be game day actives a lot of the time, but for half or 3/4 of the season, they could be decoys or get their one time to shine. I mean, I think either one of these guys could definitely do the Justin Watson role, and I think Justin Watson got a lot more respect for the little production that he really did.
Right, that's very true.
Versus Skyy Moore, who had his lumps, but being a rookie who doesn't do well in the organization versus being a veteran who comes in and only does jobs or odd things sparingly. I think the finger gets pointed incorrectly at times. Like, why is all the blame getting put on a young guy who's in the spotlight and asked to do a lot versus a guy who's already been around the block and you assume would be doing things the right way and showing out, but they're just kind of biding their time, I guess. But I think I would agree with you that Thornton is more likely to do something, just because at this point Skyy Moore doesn't seem like he's in the Chiefs' good graces. But maybe that's just us as fans making that storyline up. Maybe the Chiefs are like, Skyy Moore, you've done everything you're supposed to do. Oh, you came back and you're more muscly than you've ever been. Maybe you can actually withstand a tackle or two, and not every single throw we give you is to the sidelines where you run out of bounds safely. Maybe that's something that we don't know about. But I think the offense is prepared to be a lot more explosive. And a couple years ago, it was Skyy Moore and Kadarius Toney are our number one receivers. And how exciting or big that was supposed to be. We've seen that those expectations were not correct. But if either Skyy Moore or Tyquan is a wide receiver 5 or 6, I think that if you say that out loud, that's you got to be thrilled. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, other than personal biases about what you believe a certain player's potential should be. Oh, these guys are second round picks. They should be, obviously the total starter. And I made the same claim in the draft shows a month ago that a second round pick should probably be a starter. But the NFL draft is not science. Every first round pick is not Hall of Famers every single year. A 7th round pick becomes your number one contributor on a team, or your only contributor on a team was your first round pick. It's sometimes that flip-flop. And to think like everything about it, it is misjudgment and it's misleading. And I don't try to be that. I understand what I see and what I feel.
I mean, who would have thought a 5th, 6th, 7th rounder would win 6, 7, 8 rings? Who would have thought that?
Creed Humphrey is 2nd round pick. Trey Smith, a 6th round pick. Trey Smith's going to make more than the 2nd round pick. If you say that out loud, you're like, oh, that doesn't make logical sense. The NFL doesn't make logical sense. The Mr. Irrelevant just got franchise quarterback level money. That's not supposed to happen. But the NFL loves those type of things. And storylines and underdog stories. Kadarius Toney didn't contribute hardly anything for any team. And then the 1 year Magic, he's a punt return record for Super Bowl.
Right.
That's the beauty of the NFL, man. That magic and randomness can happen all the time. You try to prepare and get through stuff like that, but it's not rocket science. There's no crystal ball determining the future of everything. We don't have all the answers, and nor would we want them. It makes it exciting to not know the outcome of each and every game and each and every player choice, and like all those things are what makes sports exciting. All that to say, I know that you're eager for the season to start, and you're counting the Sundays, and it seems incredible
15.
that less than 3 months away from technically preseason, and we're 3 months and an extra week to officially seeing regular season football, and when all of our content ramps up, and it seems like the grind never stops. So during this off season, we're both excited for the season to officially begin, but we are also savoring each and every moment that the NFL is as slow as it can be during a time when it's always trying to be in the spotlight at all times. At least it's easier to kind of maintain the topics and all the storylines to be had. But once we're in the actual regular season grind mode, it's hard to tell where we are and what direction's up and down.
Right.
But I know you're excited for the season to start. I know you're excited to keep up with this off-season content. We'll probably definitely do this again as long as it keeps fitting into everybody's schedule. Any final thoughts you want to leave the people with as they complete their Friday and officially start
happy Cheese Friday. Happy Red Friday to everybody that's watching and will watch this. I'm just glad I'm up this morning, still up from last night, that I got to do this episode with my guy Clinton. I'm just happy to be here.
Appreciate that, bud. It's always good talking with you. I'm glad we got to make this time. Got to go over the OTA storylines and get to keep up with that during each and every week. But pleasure to speak with you. Pleasure being here and co-hosting this lovely show with you and getting to connect with the audience and Chiefs Kingdom alike. With that being said, I hope you all enjoy your rest of your Friday, enjoy your weekend, and as always, go Chiefs!
Thanks for checking out this update straight from the heart of Chiefs Kingdom. We appreciate your passion, so please leave a like and follow us wherever you tune in from. See you next tailgate, your trusted source for all things Chiefs, Red Kingdom Media.